has got to be one of the sweetest smelling spaces in South America. If you plan to get or give a bouquet of flowers for Valentine's Day next week, there's a good chance it'll come from Colombia. The nation is the world's second largest exporter of flowers behind Netherlands, and with romance in the air, this is a very busy season for the South American country's floral industry. The Society of American Florists says Colombia exports 50,000 tons of flowers over a period of just weeks. And that takes a lot of planning since the real ones don't last as long as the silk ones. So Colombia has something called a petal plan that involves a group of exporters coordinating everything from picking to packing to trucking to flying to get what's here to the vase on your dining room table or teacher's desk. Couple stories out of Washington, D.C. are next on The World from A to Z. I'm Carl Azus. It means the world to have you watching. Yesterday, the findings of a special investigation came out. They concern classified documents, which are secret government documents, that U.S. President Joe Biden had kept at a former private office and his home in Delaware. The materials were discovered in 2022 and 2023. They included documents from when Biden served as vice president from 2009 to 2017. It's illegal for a government worker to knowingly take classified documents without permission and to keep them at a private location. And the special counsel in charge of the investigation said Biden, quote, willfully retained and disclosed classified materials. However, investigators concluded that the president did not deserve criminal charges in this case. They described him as, quote, a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory, and that it would have been hard to convince a jury to convict him of a serious felony that requires a mental state of willfulness. A lawyer for President Biden called that, quote, highly prejudicial language that isn't accurate or appropriate. He also said the president cooperated with the investigation and that mistakes when packing documents, quote, are unfortunately a common occurrence. But some of the president's Republican critics said not charging him reflected, quote, special treatment to the Biden family, and that the findings prove America's leader isn't up to the job. President Biden himself says he considers the matter closed and that he'd continue to stay focused on being president.
From water treatment plants to oil and gas pipelines to electrical plants that supply power so you can see this story. All of this critical infrastructure, the House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party heard are in Chinese hackers' sights.
China's hackers are positioning on American infrastructure in preparation to wreak havoc and cause real-world harm to American citizens and communities if and when China decides the time has come to strike.
The warning from the FBI director, the head of the National Security Agency, and other senior U.S. officials outlined the magnitude of the challenge they say the U.S. faces.
If you took every single one of the FBI's cyber agents and intelligence analysts and focused them exclusively on the China threat, China's hackers would still outnumber FBI cyber personnel by at least 50 to 1.
The Chinese government has previously denied allegations of hacking, but officials testified Chinese hackers are actively infiltrating computer networks in the U.S. and warned the cyber threats could do real-world damage.
So people can't use their cell phone. Air traffic control system, port control systems are malfunctioning.
The warnings aren't necessarily new, but are now being voiced at the highest levels of government, showing the U.S. wants Chinese hacker concerns out in the open. I'm Emily Schmidt, reporting.
On this date in world history. It's tough to beat a good game of Mintonet. What's Mintonet, you ask? Well, this was the original name for volleyball. It was called Mintonet because of its similarity to badminton. An American named William G. Morgan invented the game on February 9th, 1895, while he was working at a YMCA in Massachusetts. This was the date in 1920 when the Svalbard Treaty took effect. It officially gave Norway sovereignty over the archipelago Svalbard in the Arctic Circle, but the treaty allows for some other countries to utilize the resources of the islands. And February 9th, 1986 was when Halley's Comet reached its perihelion, its closest point to the sun during its 75-year elliptical orbit. It was visible to Earthlings then and should be again in 2061.
Whig President William Henry Harrison gave the longest inaugural address but served the shortest term. For an infographic look at the American presidency, check out We the People and the President.
Northernmost point of the United States is Point Barrow, Alaska, and we're returning to that state today to recognize a school that's not far from the northernmost point, Eben Hobson Middle School in Barrow, where it's great to have Mr. Gibson's class watching this Friday. On the other side of the country, in the Palmetto State of South Carolina, we're happy to see Miss Corby's class. Big hello to everyone at STEM Charter School in the town of Winnsboro.
World of knowledge. Which of these events took place in 1967? Tet Offensive in Vietnam, election of President Nixon, Beatles' last concert, first Super Bowl. All of these events occurred in the late 1960s, but the only one that played out in 1967 was the first Super Bowl.
Has more of a ring to it than the AFL-NFL World Championship game, as the first Super Bowl was originally called. The Green Bay Packers beat the Kansas City Chiefs 35-10. It's reportedly the only Super Bowl that didn't sell out, and even though ticket prices were $10 to $15 each, Time magazine says they were still considered too expensive. Compare that to today, with folks spending several times that just to eat and watch from home.
It's often the most watched TV event every year in the U.S., the Super Bowl. Roughly 112 million people across the country plan to throw or attend a Super Bowl party this weekend, and more than 16 million plan to watch at a bar or restaurant, according to the National Retail Federation. And with Super Bowl 58 between the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers being hosted in Las Vegas, you can expect big crowds and high prices. If you want to travel to Vegas just to watch the game at a bar or casino, here's what you can expect to pay. The average price for a hotel room this upcoming weekend is $391 per night, according to travel platform Hopper. Compare that to this past weekend, prices were $161 a night.
I don't think we're going to be able to score some great Super Bowl deals.
It will be much cheaper to watch from your couch. The National Retail Federation says total Super Bowl spending for food, drinks, apparel, and decorations are expected to reach a record $17.3 billion. That averages out to $86.04 per person.
A Super Bowl party at home is going to be the best way to get the bang for your buck.
Shoppers are still paying more for food. According to a Super Bowl food spending report by Wells Fargo, ground beef prices are up nearly 12% compared to a year ago. But the price of fresh chicken wings is cheaper, averaging $3.26 a pound. Here's a savings tip. That same report suggests canned soft drinks will cost more than bottled ones. That's partly because the cost of aluminum is higher. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
If lovebirds on Valentine's Day give chocolates and flowers and those nasty candy hearts with messages like cutie pie, what do people give when they break up? A goodbye pie, according to Pizza Hut. This is a hot honey pizza with pepperoni and spicy honey sauce, and it's being marketed as a way to let exes or soon-to-be exes know that the relationship has gone to pieces. Get it? The company calls this spicy news delivered sweetly, and in some places it's offering to deliver it for free. Of course, there are worse ways to break up, like delivering that with half the pieces missing. But if you're looking to give someone a pizza your mind instead of a pizza your heart, you think it's too cheesy to say, it's not you, it's me. You pepero need to part ways but want to serve up a baked up breakup without being crusty, maybe this could help you do that in good taste. I'm Carl Azus. Thank you for watching The World from A to Z, where Fridays are awesome.